going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Clippers latest, where we talk all things LA Clippers, quick, fast, and to the point. I'm your host with the most, Brandon Goggins, back here with another episode for you guys today. Clippers latest is officially sponsored by Underdog, so big shout out to them. If you're watching this video, you can scan this QR code right here on the screen to check it out and make your picks. If you didn't know, Underdog is my favorite app to place entries on when it comes to NBA action, especially with how simple and clean the process is. So I think that you should visit and you should give it a try. But without further ado, how's everybody feeling? How's everybody doing today? I hope that everybody's doing incredibly well. We got some things to talk about, LA Clippers related. Most of them Kawhi related. But first, I want to talk about the game that just took place. Well, not just, but because I'm a little late. But as you know, I did not watch the Raptors game live, but I was very, very, very much aware of what went down and how it played out. So the Clippers found themselves down, obviously, 109 to 101 with just about 3:35 left on the clock. And guess who decided to take over? I'm sure you probably guessed it. Well, you can probably see down here and over there. But it was James Harden, you know? He turned into, his personal show, dropping bucket after bucket in the fourth quarter to cut the lead, force overtime, and keep the group in it. And then in overtime, he kept it going. Excuse me, y'all. I'm still recovering. Y'all know I'm still trying to come back. But he scored 8 of his 31 points in overtime, and he helped the Clips complete a massive comeback, and he pushed them to a win despite missing Kawhi, obviously. And we're talking about a guy who had to carry this team when everyone else was struggling to match the Raptors' energy, Clippers were down by double-digit points, and, the wave looked like it was about to break. Thought it was going to be over, but Harden kept it coming. He hit free throws, he made big plays, and according to, a lot of external sources, his late fourth quarter run is exactly the reason why it got into overtime. So, when you didn't see it happen live, but you hear James Harden heroics, and it makes sense. Of course it does. That's not to say that nobody else did anything either. I know that Jordan Miller had a good game. I'm pretty sure Batum did. Cam Christie, had a decent performance. Going back to Jordan Miller, he had this one move. I was like, wait, whoa, Jordan, you have that in your bag. I'm like, whoa. But no, it was pretty nice. But yeah, so back to James Harden. This is the same guy who's been leading the offense all season. This is nothing new to him. He's not new to it. He's true to it. So, he knows how to create his own shot, and he has the experience to eat the clock up when it matters. And let's be real, when on the road like that, down late, with your best two-way player on the bench in Kawhi Leonard, to a Toronto team that has been overachieving this year, if I'd had to say so. Not to say that they're bad or that they were going to be bad, but I don't think people, what are they, the 2 seed in the East? They're a top 3 seed in the East right now. I'm pretty sure, pretty confident. So that's a legit performance, and that's a legit win, and I feel like that says a lot about what this team is capable of. So even if I didn't get to see it live, I am definitely aware of the impact that he had. And this is the type of game where a veteran star steps up and literally changes the outcome. So Harden came through when it mattered most, and the Clippers walked off with the W. That's a W in my book, and that's the story there. But now, while we're on the topic of Toronto, I think that we should talk about our boy, Kawhi. So Kawhi made a sort of a sentimental declaration about Toronto that's got Raptors fans probably in their feelings in the type of way. The article that I gathered this from said that he still has a soft spot for the city, where he essentially became a legend. Even though he's fully dressed in Clippers red and focused on LA, he still is going to have love. The North really doesn't forget, and neither does Kawhi. I mean, he literally won a championship there, their only one in franchise history, that being their first ring. He earned the whole country's affection, Drake, Raptors fans all over, and he's still the guy, the fun guy. Nah, I'm playing. But nah, some of that emotion has come out online. People are responding to his comments, sharing memories, and getting real nostalgic about what he did for the city. And even though he left for LA, his best years in Toronto have never really left the minds of fans up north. So when he makes a shout out or a meaningful comment about Toronto, it hits different because, Kawhi is a quiet guy. He doesn't speak a lot. So everybody knows when the quiet guy speaks up about something, you turn your head and listen. And him saying something about that, something that's deeply tapped in with his emotional side. Like people are going to, take that and it means something. And we would understand that, as Clipper Nation, we understand why. I know that it hasn't been perfect in years past, but he has still done a lot for the franchise, and he has proved that he's still one of the best players on the planet. So, bottom line, man, championship legacies, they don't just fade away because a player changes uniforms. Kevin Love just got a standing ovation in Cleveland. Kyle Lowry also got a standing ovation in Toronto. And Kawhi's Toronto moments, they remain one of the craziest runs that any team has ever seen. So that's going to be something that Raptors fans cherish and hold very close to their hearts forever. So I completely understand why they feel that way. Fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. You just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. If you get your picks right, you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. This week on Underdog, I'm looking at this OKC versus Cleveland game, and I think that I'm going to select SGA for higher than 31.5 points. I think that he'll get over it. And I'm also going to select Donovan Mitchell for higher than 27.5 points. These are two of the best two guards in the game. I just realized my mic is down there. These are two of the These are two of the best two guards in the game, and they're playing on NBC. So I think that they're going to go head to head, and they're going to put on their A game. So I think that we're going to see, and I think that you should try and give it a shot, because I think that you should download the app today, and I think you should use this promo code BASKETBALLFAN to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. Again, that is promo code BASKETBALLFAN. Underdog, make picks, win money.
Must be 18 plus. 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska. 19 plus in Colorado for some games. 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/play and get terms DFSTML for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 helpline at 1-877-8 or text from 467-369.
So, while we're on the topic of Kawhi Leonard, I know that we talked about some positive things regarding him earlier, but now something not so positive. According to reports, the Los Angeles Clippers have sent Kawhi Leonard home from the team's road trip because of some irritation in his left knee. Obviously, he didn't play in a recent game, dealing with some discomfort following a contested contusion where he suffered in one of the previous games, and the team decided that he should return to LA for treatment. Kawhi will probably miss the remainder of the current road trip as it stands, which includes the game today against the Washington Wizards and the Chicago Bulls. And he's currently been listed as day to day. He's set to be reevaluated on Wednesday, I believe, and that'll come when the team returns home to face the Lakers. Obviously, he's missed games due to an ankle and foot issue earlier this year. But what really makes this one kind of sad, not even sad because I don't think that it's as serious as it could be, but it just sucks because, he's in one of his best scoring stretches as a Clipper, Since December 20th, when the Clippers went on a surge, Kawhi has averaged 32.7 points per game. You know what I'm saying? So from a big picture perspective, this injury is a setback. It's a rough blow, especially coming off the heels of a huge win in a road trip where they're trying to keep up momentum and play and, make a push for the play-in race. But as it stands, it's also not a long-term catastrophe. Being said, he's day-to-day and expected to be reassessed once they're back in LA. So, bottom line, the Clippers are going to have to keep on winning without Kawhi for a bit, or at least the next 2 games or so, hopefully. And again, that means that Harden is going to have to put that cape back on. Dunn is going to have to step up. Jordan Miller is going to have to step up. Sanders is going to have to step up. Hopefully, we can get Collins back. But everybody's going to have to step up. And this team, they showed resilience recently, but, losing a guy who's been dominating on offense is never easy. And, that's essentially what this means for LA. But I think that we can hold our own against the Wizards, at least. And I think that we should be able to against the Bulls, but we'll get there when we get there, one step at a time. But yeah, while we're still talking about Kawhi, this might as well be the Kawhi Leonard episode, but I do have an update for you all. Look, I know it's been a minute. Since we talked about the whole cap circumvention, fraud allegation scandal with aspiration involving Kawhi and the Clippers. But, there's a new update. According to reports, Clippers owner Steve Ballmer's legal team has filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit that claims he participated in fraudulently paying Kawhi Leonard through a third-party company, that being Aspiration. Obviously, the original case came from investors in Aspiration who claimed that they were defrauded out of millions when the company went bankrupt, and that Ballmer, via his investment, was involved in funneling the money to Kawhi Leonard as a way to get, around the NBA salary cap. So in response, Ballmer's attorneys called the allegations, quote, sensational and patently false, saying that the lawsuit doesn't allege enough facts to constitute a valid claim against him. They argued in court papers that there's no evidence of an agreement between Ballmer and Aspiration's co-founder to carry out any salary cap avoidance or fraud. The suit was amended last year to name Ballmer as a defendant after investigative reporting from our boy Pablo Torre, who put his involvement on center stage. But now his team is pushing to have the case thrown out altogether. Hearing on the motion is scheduled for March 9th, 2026. The Clippers have simultaneously denied any cap circumvention or wrongdoing, maintaining they've cooperated with the NBA's investigation and that Ballmer was himself misled by investors and company. So obviously, this isn't a new scandal, but it is moving into an important legal phase. And if this case does get dismissed, it can remove a cloud that's hung over the franchise for months. We can put it in the past and forget about it. But if it doesn't, this is something that could drag on and continue to be a story on and off the floor for the Clippers. So fingers crossed that that's not the case. But I'll tell you what is the case. The case is that this video is over, and I want you guys to leave your thoughts in the comments below about everything that we talked about and discussed today. What are your thoughts on everything Kawhi related, and how are you feeling after that win against the Raptors? But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, and if you're new here and you enjoyed this video, give it a like and hit subscribe. We would love to have you here at Clip Gang, because if you ain't Clip Gang, don't bang, you know what I mean? But I'm gonna get on up out of here, y'all. Y'all be easy, y'all stay sleazy, and as always, keep it capital P. I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be smooth. Peace.